Good evening. I will call to order the licensing board for the City of West Bend of August 3rd at 6:25 p.m. I recognize that all members are present. We have two items on the agenda, first of which is approval of the minutes for the licensing board regular meeting of July 20th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Steph, we need a second? Yes.
I have a second.
Thank you.
I'm the second.
If there's any corrections or discussions, seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Alderman Model, just so you know, we're in the licensing board.
Oh, is there is there?
Yeah,
Got it.
there's two items.
Sorry.
It's all right. But I'm glad you want to be a part.
No, I must have missed that. I didn't see anything to get.
So we'll move on to item number 2.
Got it.
Our agenda items for consideration: appointment of Agent Michelle Roshan of M&R Bar Inc., M&R Bar at 1539 North Main Street.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motioned second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. And being there's no further business for the licensing board, I'll adjourn by the call of the chair.
Call to order the Board of Public Works. John Bushlick is out today, so I am going to be calling the meeting. We have the approval of the Board of Public Works regular meeting minutes from July 20th that need to be approved.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Anyone, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Perfect. And then we have an item, agenda item for consideration, electronic compliance maintenance annual report for 2019. And I was told it was going to be Ruth Mueller speaking to it, but
Nope, Steve Randall.
Steve Randall is going to be speaking to it. So Steve, take it away.
Okay, the 2019 CMAR consisted of 10 sections. Those sections include loadings to the plant, vast majority of our effluent results for effluent, and biosolids applications. It also includes sections on maintenance of the collection system and the plant itself. We received A's in all sections, giving us a 4.0 GPA. So because of that, we need no further written response or action for the DNR besides the approval from the Board of Public Works and then resolution from the Common Council.
I was going to say, thank you so much. Jay, do we need okay. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, perfect. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Yep. With no further business before the Public Works Committee, I adjourn.
All right, and I'll call to order the West Bend City of West Bend Common Council meeting for August 3rd at 6:30. Notice that all aldermen are present, aside from Alderman Butchlick, who is absent and excused. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. We have 14 items on our agenda. The first is a presentation by the Horton Group on the City of West Bend's health insurance plan for 2020 by Alex Boudry. Is that right? Boudry. All right. Take it away.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Alex Boudry with the Horton Group. I am the lead consultant here for the City of West Bend's health plan. Tonight, I'm going to go through a packet of materials really designed to inform you about what's going on with the health plan. We're not requesting any action at this time, but really just to give you a good snapshot of what's going on so that we can start to strategize for the fall and what that might look like. If you have any questions, please stop me at any time. There's a lot of information, so I'm here to answer questions. So if it becomes a dialogue, that's perfectly okay with me. So as we jump on here, here's what we're going to be going through. We're going to be going through what we call our reserve calculator. That's a good snapshot of how the health plan is running. We have some de-identified high-cost claimant information, and then we have a little bit of historical information. And then as we look to January 1st already, we'll start to talk about what the renewal will look like. We'll go through our stop loss history and then what the rest of the year will look like from a timeline standpoint. So as we jump into the reserve calculator here, this is from calendar year 2019. And I'm going to walk through this. I apologize for those watching the screen and making you sick probably. In the upper left-hand portion here, we have just who our vendors are. So our medical administrator is UMR, United Healthcare's parent company. Our prescription drug administrator is Express Scripts. Our stop loss carrier is Voya. Our specific stop loss deductible is $90,000 per individual on the health plan. We have a paid stop loss contract, and our network is United Healthcare's Choice Plus network. In the middle top, we have our premium equivalents. So what our employees pay, or what the total amount is by what the employees and the city pays for your health insurance. And then we have a list of fixed costs. So our medical admin fees, our stop loss fees, your aggregate stop loss, and your PBM admin fees are all listed. So when we get to the middle part of this report, this is the what you would call the meat and potatoes. We have it broken out by month, and then we have totals in the gray here on the bottom. So we have all of our fixed costs labeled. We have our medical admin fees listed out by month, and all of our fixed costs remain relatively stable month over month. So our admin fees are right around $9,500 a month. Our stop loss premiums are around $50,000 to $52,000 a month. Your PBM fees, and then consulting fees. Now this was last year, so you had a different consultant last year. So these consulting fees are a little bit different than ours, and there's also some stop loss commissions baked in that we took out in 2020. So this is going to vary a little bit from 19 to 20, but a really good snapshot of your total fixed costs. So we had $766,000 in fixed costs over the course of the whole year, resulting in about 22% of your total plan costs. The variable cost section, this is your claims month over month. So we have our medical claims, our prescription drug claims, we add those together, and then we're going to take out any monies that were reimbursed. So if someone goes over the specific stop loss deductible, let's say you have a $100,000 claim on one individual, the city pays the first $90,000 and then $10,000 gets reimbursed back. So last year we received $541,000 in reimbursements, and then we received $70,000 in prescription drug rebates. So you subtract those two numbers, and then you get a total variable cost here, and then we get a total plan cost by adding the variable costs and the fixed costs together. Then we look at your enrollment based on single and family, multiplied by our premium equivalent rates, and then we get a total funding amount. So then all the way to the right here, we have a monthly loss ratio. So for example, the month of January 2019, our loss ratio was 108.48%. So for every dollar put in, we spent $1.08. Makes sense? And we do that every month, month over month. So for the year 2019, we finished the year at just under 110% loss ratio. So based on our plan funding, that was a deficit of about $300,000. Make sense so far? Okay. On the bottom right then, we also have your fixed cost per employee per year and your variable costs per employee per year, and then the total cost. This is just a good snapshot for two different reasons. The first being it's a good national benchmark, so you can compare yourself to other employers. And then the second being that you can see how much it would cost as you add employees to the health plan. So for 2019, it was about $16,500 per employee per year that was on the health plan. Any questions on 2019 before I move into 2020? Okay. So as we move into 2020 this year, I'm not going to go through it in the same level of detail. I don't want to bore you all to death. But really, what we're showing here is that the health plan is running a bit of a fever. We had 130% loss ratio, 167%, 118%, 125, and then you'll see May and June drop off dramatically. This is for two reasons. One is a little bit COVID related. Health systems were shut down, so a lot of people weren't going to the doctor. And the second is we've received a ton of reimbursements due to large claims. So you'll see that in May and June, we received over $400, just $400,000 in just those 2 months in reimbursements, which it sounds a little counterintuitive, but that actually helps the health plan. So we're collecting all of those dollars back that we've already paid in previous months, which artificially reduces that loss ratio. So given all of that, the entire history of the first 6 months of 2020, our loss ratio is sitting at 104%. So we're almost breaking even. It's about a $71,000 deficit with the health plan, but really the picture is we're running hot right now. Does anybody have any questions on that? Yes.
You have listed the premiums at the top of each chart, but can you tell me what the deductibles are that employees are subject to each year?
So it's 2,500 single and 3,500 family? 5,000 is a double?
5,000 family?
Yes.
Okay, that's the only question I have right now. Thank you.
Okay, yep. And all of the, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Explain why the stop-loss premium and the consulting fees went up.
So the consulting fee, I'll answer that one first. So we are charging $40,000 for our consultant fee. Last year, they charged a $30,000 flat fee, and then they also had 7% stop-loss premiums added to that fee. So what we did is we're trying to be transparent. We're not collecting any commissions on any of your lines of insurance. We're just collecting that $40,000 consulting fee. So while it looks like it went up under the consulting tab, we're actually charging much less than what you were paying last year. The stop-loss premiums went up because of our large claims. So you received an increase to your stop-loss premiums based on your large claim activity, and I'll go into that in much greater detail later.
Makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
When you said the deductible was 25 for individuals, 5 for family, does everyone have to be on the same plan then, I'm assuming? There's not different options of
There's only
plans?
one plan at
There's
this
only
point.
one plan. Okay, thank.
Any other questions before I move on? Okay. So as we look at the high-cost claim activity, and this goes back to the question around stop-loss premiums, in 2019, we had 8 individuals that met our specific deductible of $90,000, with the largest claimant accumulating $577,000 in claims per one individual. And then we had, the other 7 or so individuals that were between $96,000 and $150,000. So for a group of about 200 employees on the plan, to have 8 people hit your stop loss is a little bit higher than average, I would say. And for the other people on this report, the other between 9 here and 14, the city is responsible for all those claims dollars. So definitely the large claim activity warranted the large increase. As we look to 2020, that large claim activity has continued. So the top claimant on this report through the first 6 months of the year has already accumulated $420,000 in claims, the vast majority of that running through the prescription drug plan. And then we've also have 3 individuals who have hit the stop loss deductible with another who is right on the doorstep there at 99.88%. So even though we probably received some benefit due to COVID, from a loss ratio standpoint, people aren't going to the doctor and getting their care. That's been offset by the level of high cost claim activity that we have seen so far in 2020. So any questions on the large claim activity? Okay. The next page is just outlined to give you kind of a historical medical and RX overview. I want to point something out right away. This is not your total health plan cost, because this does not include things like admin fees or stop loss premiums. This is truly just meant to show you your variable costs year over year. And in 2018, our variable costs, so our RX claims plus our medical claims, was about $2.2 million. In 19, that number jumped to 2.6. And year-to-date for 2020, we're sitting at 1.3. So if we have the same first half of the year that we had, and if we have the second half of the year, what we had in the first half, we're going to be right at that 2.6 number again. Even though we're getting a ton of reimbursements back, it's still looking like we're on pace for another 2019, which is another year kind of above normal. The next page I'll go through really quickly. This just shows you your policies and your different carriers. Everything is up for renewal this January 1, 2021. So we will be busy making sure that we're getting everything to you in a timely fashion. Okay. Now probably what is most important on all of your minds, budget. And I'm going to go through this in some detail because I think it's important you understand what we're showing you. And again, if you have questions, please stop me. So this is how we calculate the renewal for the city's health plan. We look at paid claims over a 12-month period. So we have data through June, through last July. We pull out all claims over this specific deductible. So far over the last 12 months, we've received almost $1 million in reimbursements. That's a really high number. We pull out the RX rebates. So our net claims is $2,815,948. We then add in trend at 5%. So basically trend is inflation in our world, and 5% is probably a rather conservative number. So then we get a new projected claims number of just over $3 million. In this report, we don't have any adjustments for lasers. And I'm going to get to that in the next report, so I'm going to leave that alone. So then we get our estimated claims for the next renewal, and that stays the same. We then add in our admin costs and our fixed cost. And then we add those two together. So then we get, what we expect your total expenses to be for next year, at $4,126,836. Your income at your current rate, so based on what the city pays in and what your employees pay, is at $3,508,987. So that difference is how we calculate the renewal of 17.61%. So basically we're showing a deficit of $617,000. I'm going to stop right there because that was a lot of information and I want to make sure I answer any questions. Okay. Hearing none. On the right-hand side is just how we calculated all the fixed costs that go into the left-hand side of the presentation. You'll see estimated all over this thing. We won't have renewals until a little bit later this fall, but we estimate kind of averages. So a 2.5% increase for our TPA fees, a 15% increase for our stop-loss fees, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So those numbers, as we get them, will become real, but those are our assumptions so far baked into this report. Yes?
What is the meaning of medical and prescription $90,000 specific?
So that is our specific deductible. So for our health plan, we have a deductible of $90,000 for every individual. So if I was a city employee, all of the claims up to $90,000, the city would pay for. And now I'm not including like my deductible and copays and things. I'm just talking pure costs here. So after that $90,000, then we have reinsurance for those large claims. So when I showed you that large claim report, and we have an individual last year who had $577,000 in claims. The city paid the first 90, we were reimbursed the other 480,000. Does that make sense?
It does, yes.
Okay, so we pay to have that reinsurance, which is what you're seeing here. Any other questions?
I guess I have a question there.
Yes.
So in this forecast for what we're looking at, easy terms, that 17% change, if we didn't do anything and didn't change our behaviors or anything, how do we recoup that extra 617?
Yeah, so that's 17, probably isn't 17, which I'm going to get into in the next report. But there's a couple different strategies. One is to go out to the market, which we're already doing. Do we look at different stop-loss vendors, different TPAs, different network arrangements, different pharmacy benefit managers? There's the traditional things you can do, like messing with deductibles, co-pays, moving to a high deductible health plan. I mean, all of those types of more traditional things that we can do to control costs. I think we're going to have to look at a wide variety of potential solutions to help get that number down.
And that's probably what you're going into next, but I was just
Well, it's going to look worse, and I'm going to explain why.
Go ahead.
And that's why I'm here early. It's better to deliver bad news early than late, is what I've learned. So this next page, now I'm on page 8 of the packet here. It's the exact same information that I just went through, except for one line. And it's this adjustment for lasers line right here. A laser is a higher specific deductible for an individual who may have a severe medical condition. And I want to be careful when I explain this. It does not mean that that employee or their family member has a higher deductible. It means the city's health plan has a higher individual deductible. So for example, I have a rare condition that maybe costs $500,000 a year. The city has that $90,000 specific deductible for all of your employees and their family members, except for me. I'm going to have a $500,000 deductible, where the city would be responsible for the first $500,000, and then we'd be reimbursed after that. Reinsurers do that to help protect themselves from risk. Obviously, that would mean more risk for the city, because you're taking on that extra liability. So there's two strategies. One, you take the laser and you hope that that person doesn't have claims, hopes they come in under, and you save that money. The other option, if we don't want a laser, is we spread that $700,000 across the entire population, and our fixed costs will go up by that amount. So it's a for sure thing versus do we take a little bit of a gamble. Due to the fact that the city has a claimant that already has accumulated almost $500,000 in claims, and they had over $500,000 in claims last year in roughly the same time period, we are expecting that we're going to have a laser on that individual for the next year. So when we look at that from a budgetary standpoint, we always assume we're going to hit it should we accept that laser. So adding in that additional $700,000 in liability, that brings that 17% number all the way up to 37.5%, which is about a $1.3 million deficit. So I wanted to show this to you because the real picture is probably closer to this one than it is the first one. But even if we don't get a laser, I wanted to show the first one because we're still not running great. So I wanted to show both to compare, but really we're looking at a rather large shortfall should we in fact get a laser on that individual. Questions on that? Okay. So that is what the budget looks like as we sit today. Obviously, as we get closer to actually finalizing the renewal, we'll add in more claims. Hopefully things get better. But right now we've kind of been running a bit of a fever. This page is meant to show you kind of a historical stop-loss perspective. Here on this report, this loss ratio number, stop-loss carriers want to be in the 60 to 70% range. That's kind of their break-even point. We've been with Voya since 2017, and we were running pretty well. And then in 2019, 107.8%. And so far through this year, we're at 104.6%, and that number is only going to continue to rise with our large claimants. So I show this to you, meaning that we're going to definitely be out to market. We already are looking at different stop-loss vendors, but our stop-loss renewal is going to be a bit difficult. The good news is that's only a small portion of our actual costs, but that is we're likely to switch vendors unless we get just a great deal from Voya. We do need to manage our risk. So, any questions? I know this is probably just great. You guys are all just happy I started this meeting. Yes.
Actually, I have a question for Mr. Chambeau. I had mentioned to you that I was curious why we were self-insuring. And I'm still mystified why we are self-insuring, why we're paying administrative costs like this, why we are doing any of this, unless this is cheaper than if we were in the WRS health system. Has that ever been looked at?
It's certainly been looked at historically. We haven't looked at it with seriousness in the short time that Alex has been with the city. He's just been on this year. So we haven't had the conversation with Alex as of yet, but I would share historically it's been cheaper to be self-insured. And unless you're running a fever, as mentioned, and have some high-cost claims, that kind of stuff will drive us into looking again. But the premiums that we have paid and that our employees have enjoyed the cost share of paying have been significantly lower than those other fully insured plans historically.
It'll take me about 2 hours to calculate, which I might do, just so I can satisfy myself, because I know what the WRS numbers are. I should have done it, I didn't think about doing it ahead of the meeting, but I think I'll do that.
Just have one other question. I don't know if Jay could answer. Or is there a reason there's only one plan, like a one-size-fits-all insurance option for every person at the city? I just wonder, like where I work, we have at least 3 different options, kind of like a Cadillac plan, a medium plan, and like a budget option. So people that are younger or less ill can, and it kind of can help offset some of the cost, I would think. Is there a reason we're doing a one-size-fits-all?
Yep, I could give you my best guess reason, but I think I'll ask Alex or Michelle to weigh in on that instead.
Sure. So I'm not going to comment on what was done historically, just because, as Jay mentioned, we've only been the consultant since January. But from a kind of global, what our clients are doing, it's all over the board. We have a lot of clients that offer multiple plans. Being a self-funded entity, let's say we added a high deductible health plan that was HSA compliant to offer like a budget plan like you were talking about. The problem becomes those premiums are lower because the plan is less rich. That means less money coming into the health plan, and now that means our claims aren't going to change just because we added a new plan. And the difference in deductibles that people are going to pay aren't going to offset that enough. So I think offering multiple plans is a great tool for attracting and retaining talent. It's not a great way as a self-funded organization to offset costs. Does that make sense? Unless you set the city's contribution to that lowest cost plan. So what I mean by that is, okay, we offer an additional plan that's a lesser benefit at a lower cost. The city charges its percentage based on that amount. And if I want the plan we currently have today, I have to pay the difference in cost between those two plans. That would be the only way that we could drive savings for the city. Your employees are going to feel the brunt of it because the majority of them are going to not want to pay that gap in the two plans. Did I explain that well enough?
Yeah, I think so. I just trying to kind of reconcile the different options that would be available to us, and
yeah,
the budget option usually kind of discourages people from going a lot, right? So that's where you kind of get some savings. But if somebody chooses the premium plan because they probably have more health conditions, they do pay up for that choice. So it kind of helps balance. That's just my thought as somebody that's younger that maybe doesn't need as much insurance.
Sure. Yep. And there's definitely a component of that. My only thing would just be it's not a big enough gap, I think, to close the gap of a budget shortfall that we're looking at. So we're happy to explore it. We're exploring every option that we can to get this increase down. I know that no city can take on a 37% increase, so we are going to work towards that and give you a whole bunch of different solutions to choose from.
Thank you.
Did you want to add anything, Michelle?
Hi. So our big thing when we went with Horton Group at the start of the year was to look at new options and to look at different deductible options and maybe going to a high deductible plan. So that is on what Alex is going to be looking at as well. But again, I look at it, we have at least one of the high-cost claims that are 500,000. We're not gonna be able to recoup, anything like that, so we have to be cautionary with that too, so. But definitely something we're looking at.
Any other questions? Okay. This is just a timeline then for, so you are all aware kind of what we're looking at. We're already into August. As I mentioned, we're out to market. We're looking at every vendor option that's out there. From just looking at your basics, who's our administrator, who's our stop loss carrier, to different types of vendors. Can we get creative with our high cost claimant? Are there better options that still provide a high quality of care that can do it at a much lower cost? All of those types of things to get into, and then we'll be meeting with Jay and Michelle to go through those, and then I plan on being back in front of you either September or at the very latest October. I know budgets need to get finalized pretty early in the fall, so we plan to meet those deadlines, so that we can do open enrollment in November at the latest before the Thanksgiving holiday. So that's a little bit of a snapshot on what we're looking at over the next 60 days or so. And hopefully next time I'm in front of you, I have a little bit clearer picture of what's going on and some potential solutions. So I did just want to let you know where we are, because we're going to have some tougher discussions, I think, this fall than maybe we've had in the past. So any other questions before I step aside?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Thank you.
I apologize for getting the night off to a rough start, so hopefully it's better news next time.
No,
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you being here and doing all this hard work, and look forward to your recommendations later on.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item number 2, approval of the minutes for the Common Council regular meeting of July 20th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motion second. Any corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And then I'll need a motion to consent the agenda consisting of item 3 and 4.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. And moving on to item number 5, a public hearing regarding weights and measures assessments. I believe Steph is going to give us information on that. Hey, Steph. Oh, maybe she fell asleep.
No, I'm still
Oh,
here. I was
okay,
trying to
great.
unmute it. Can you hear me?
Yep.
This is something that we do every year. It is to recover the costs from our contract that we have with DADCAP, who is in charge of our inspections for weights and measures. And the public hearing is our process of assessing these special assessments back to the business owners to recoup the costs for our contract, which currently is at $10,800.
Thank you. So this is a public hearing. If anybody from the public would like to step up to the podium, feel free to do so. Otherwise, I'd be looking for a motion to end the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of closing the public hearing, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, which carries us to item number 6, a final resolution for the levying and collecting of special assessments under section 66.0703 Wisconsin Statutes for the July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021 weights and measure inspections performed by the State of Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection and pursuant to Municipal Code section 12.26. Did you have anything else to add, Steph? Sorry.
Nope, that was it.
Okay. You heard a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks, Steph. And we'll move to item number 7, resolution approving the compliance maintenance annual report, or CMAR, of the City of West Bend sewer utility.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motion second. Any other discussions or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. And then item number 8, developers agreement, second amendment for River Shores TIF number 10. And we have a presentation by Jim.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I'm just asking the council to review and approve the Second Amendment for the Developers Agreement for River Shores. They've recently submitted a certified survey map and a site plan, which prompted some changes to the agreement that we have pertaining to the restrictions and improvements for the future developments of the lot that remains set aside from the area that's being developed for a parking lot expansion. So what this does is this reiterates the rights and the responsibilities of the parties that benefit from the parking lot, along with the requirements for the future development of that remaining lands of lot number 2. So we're just asking the council to amend that to acknowledge that, and to also acknowledge that the previous agreement items that we've had from the other agreements are still valid too.
Sounds good. So we'll be looking for a motion for all that. Thank you. And motion second. Any discussions or questions for Jim?
Yes.
Yep, Alderman Miller.
In the certified survey maps, it time and again has Craig Sedonica listed as the mayor. Is that going to be corrected prior to the time that we sign?
Yeah, that'll be corrected. What happened is the certified survey map hasn't been executed yet, so we can have that change. That name change happened prior to the election, so we'll have that corrected.
I wasn't offended, but thanks, Alderman Allen. Any other questions? Then all those in favor, I'm sorry.
Can I just have one question? The one part, the storm easement, the owner of Lot 2 is going to be responsible for construction of all public and private storm sewers associated with the extension of River Drive per future approved public improvement plans. Are we going to run into the same issue that we ran into with 18th Street potentially with this?
No, we shouldn't have any assessments due for that. The reason for the language of that is because we don't have a terminus for that road yet, because we don't know the final development plans.
Okay.
For that. Eventually, whoever develops that lot number 2 or whatever portion of that, they would be responsible for the remainder of the public improvements.
Okay.
And those would be completed prior to the completion of that development then.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Now, if there's no other questions, now I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
And now we'll take on item number 9, entertain a motion to adjourn into closed session pursuant to state statute section 19.85, para 1E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business, whatever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session for a mutual mall purchase agreement.
So moved.
Thank you. It's been motion second, and we need a roll call vote by whoever's going to do that.
Allen?
Aye.
Alderman Burquist?
Aye.
Alderman Kaler?
Aye.
Alderman Dolnick?
Aye.
Alderman Hugester?
Aye.
Alderman Model?
Aye.
Alderman Kennedy?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll go into closed session, meet in the police classroom, and then resume open session when we're done.
Did anything happen at that meeting? I don't even recall. It was so quick. It was so quick. It was like a 5-minute in and out meeting. What are you talking about?
All right, we are going to reconvene into open session and move on to item number 10, a decision regarding the purchase agreement for Mutual Mall. We're just looking for a motion to accept the purchase agreement. Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. I don't believe so.
Did we bring Stephanie back? She's back.
Yeah.
Did somebody bring her?
Yeah, I don't believe we would need a roll call for that. Is that correct, Steph? If you're there?
Stephanie, can you hear us?
I can hear you. I just have a hard time unmuting.
So, Steph, the question was asked if we need a roll call vote for our purchase agreement approval.
You do not.
Okay, thank you.
Unless you feel that there might have been a tie, then you can call for a roll call vote.
There was not. It was unanimously approved. All right, well, thank you. We'll move on to reports. Item number 11, a report by Alderman Burquist regarding the library board meeting.
Thank you, sir. The last library board meeting was held on July 21st. We were briefed by the library director on current operations of the library. The library is back to regular hours, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 9, Friday, 9 to 6, and Saturday, 9 to 1. Although the patron counts continue to be low, that's understandable, they have had over 32,000 circulations. That's their way of tracking what's coming in and out. The question was raised if the library was still doing the curbside service for individuals that had health issues. The answer was no, it hadn't been an issue, but people can be accommodated if the need arises. The summer reading program has ended as of the end of July, and they did a craft bag project, which was successful with over 300 bags being given out. Work has begun on the 2021 operating budget. There was discussion on the progress of the Library Recreation Center and the MOU, or the Memorandum of Understanding, between the Parks and Rec Department and the library. New business included approval of the bids for the Recreation Center, which we had earlier approved, and that was it. The next meeting is scheduled for August 18th.
Thank you. And I actually had a question for you. Being that more of our residents are probably at home, have you seen a spike or an increase in electronic checkouts or materials?
They've been doing the call-in, so what people have been able to do is call in, get what they want, and then come down and pick it up. That's what the curbside service was usually for, is because they were doing everything either over the phone or online. But again, with the fact that the library is open regular hours now, they seem to be getting back into the swing of things, and staff is adjusting to the opening.
Okay, thanks. Yep. Any other questions for Brett? Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the online, the ability to check out books and books on tape type materials online works very well, and if you haven't used it, it's worth looking into.
Well, and one of the other things, the service provided by the library, they have a clientele that uses the computers and the online services there. I guess they've actually gone to having the Wi-Fi able to reach like outside the building, so that someone can like sit out in their car, and instead of having them come into the building and be exposed to other people, they can sit in their car, go online, order their stuff, pick it up right there, and be done that way. So they've adjusted to the conditions.
Nice. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 12, a report by Alderman Allen or Kaler regarding the Tourism Commission meeting. Whoever's taking it.
To which commission meeting?
Tourism?
Yeah, we had a discussion on we had a discussion on the allocations that we had done. The Museum of Wisconsin Art came in and asked about having their Chalk Fest money given back to them effectively, even though they had decided not to do Chalk Fest, so that they could do their chalk estate. And so we had an extensive discussion on that. The agreement, or what we agreed, was that we were going to stay with that money not being given to Museum of Wisconsin Art, because that didn't meet our criteria for supporting tourism.
Great. Any questions for Mark? Seeing none, then I'll move on to item number 13, a report by Alderman Hugester or Kennedy regarding the Park and Recreation Commission meeting.
Yeah, so we did meet on July 23rd for Parks and Rec meeting. There were a couple small items. One was the special event, the Alzheimer's Drive-Through Promise Garden, which is going to be held Saturday, September 19th, is going to be a drive-through event, so a little bit different. They're going to have some lawn ornaments and pinwheels and things like that, and people can actually drive through it to look at it, so that's going to be kind of neat and different for this year. Also, the Villa Park neighborhood requested to do an overnight camp out in the park, and that was approved. They're going to show a movie and have a porta potty, and the kids can camp with their families and stuff like that, so that's kind of neat. And then the big long item was we talked about and discussed dogs being allowed in West Bend parks. That is going to be on the agenda one more time to make sure that we have the ordinance hammered out properly. It did pass with a 4-3 vote in favor of allowing dogs in parks, with the exception of Loch Larawn, and I think Regner and some special events. There were some specific exceptions that are being written out, so we just want to make sure everybody understands the ordinance, and then it will be brought to council in the next month or so.
Sounds great. Any questions for Megan? Seeing none, we'll move to item number 14, a report by myself regarding the Roots and Branches Mayor's Beautification Award. I had a great opportunity to go out with Mike Faulkner of Roots and Branches. We spent the evening touring the city and handing out the Mayor's Beautification Award signs that get mounted into the front yards. Had a good time talking to those residents. I'll list them off now, and then keep in mind in October we're planning on a little celebration for them before the meeting, so that all the aldermen can attend and meet them as well, and we'll give them a special recognition at that meeting. But just to summarize, our winner from District Number 1 was Peter and Ginger Stauber. Our winner from District 2 was Arlene Pirog. District 3 was Louis and Carol Santini. District 4 was Bruce and Emily Jordan. District 5 was Denise and Jeff Skonecki. District 6 was Bill and Jean Sommers. District 7 was Renee and Ralph Wilbur. And then District 8 was Doug and Jean Stewart. So thank you to all these residents, not only those who won, but those who really take pride in beautifying our city and taking ownership over that. I was asked by one of the residents if I was a gardener and how beautiful my lawn looked. I responded with as many kids and jobs as I have, I'm lucky that I have grass. So, but otherwise, it was a great time to get out into the community and talk to those residents, and we look forward to meeting and celebrating them in October. With that, we have no other business. I'll open up if there's any announcements for the good of the order. Seeing none, I will adjourn by the call of the chair. Have a great evening.